Hi, I'm Shannon Bingham with the Built Different podcast, and we are here with two exciting men today to be able to bring you some really cool information that they are doing in the world of AI. So we just want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our guests.
Hey, good morning, Shannon. Thanks for having us on. So I'm Aaron Parker. I'm the CEO at Aulendur Labs.
Yeah, my name's Jorden Gershenson. I'm the CTO, and we're excited to talk to you a little bit today about what we're doing. So at Aulendur, we're building the future of strategic intelligence, and I'm going to let Aaron tell you a little bit more about what that means.
So basically, the focus of what we're doing is that when we talk about strategic intelligence, that is trying to get insights out of deep, complex environments, which essentially is the world. Whether you're an industry leader or you're a 3 or 4-star general in the military, but even regionally, you're a farmer, you're managing logistics, supply chains. All of the systems, the domains like weather, energy, logistics, and the markets, they all interact with each other. And we have forecasting models for all of these systems, and they're exquisite, they're excellent, but they don't talk to each other. And so basically our focus is how do we tie those systems together? And then not only that, once we've done that, how do we make that accessible to everyone?
And that's key for accessibility because we all need access to what you guys are offering in this with the forecasting of what you're talking about. So for instance, if we have a farmer in Iowa, what's the hopes for you to be able to help them out with their needs?
Yeah, so I mean, for farmers, right, you're looking at not only just, some of the obvious things. How does weather affect, your crop yields? You have other things like what are your inputs? Things like fertilizer, where do those come from? How do they get to you? All of those things, that's market data, that's logistics data. So you're thinking about, okay, I got a plan for the next season. And I got to price things out, not only for my inputs, where am I going to plant, when am I going to plant? So those are all the inputs. Then on the outputs, okay, I've harvested. I'm about to harvest. When's the right time to harvest? Where do I distribute at what price? Right. So all of those are critical, important decisions where you have to understand. I mean, you got a job to do already, the farming, right? But then to take all of that complexity in and to make good decisions that maximize your profit margins, all your yields, things like that. We have systems that can do that work for us now, so you can get back to the important things. So if you're even just a farmer, how do we make that kind of intelligence that previously, only if you had millions of dollars to invest in special consultancies could you get that.
Yeah, for sure. And my family owned lots of land in Iowa, so I've watched my family farm for years, and I know that they've integrated a lot of technology over the years, so this is important. So, but you guys are also Air Force, correct? So how does that land in that realm?
Yeah, so that's actually kind of been the fun journey. So we were both, Jordan 10 years, I was in for 14. And it was a really amazing opportunity to kind of see all of these systems in play for the Defense Department. And one of the things that we saw with that is that defense is riddled with this issue as well. All of these complex systems to inform decision making, but the current systems to do that, it's the best that we've got, and so we invest in it and we try to work with that. But often it fails to deliver on time. The insights are of low quality. It's often it's almost what your intuition would tell you to inform the decisions that you're making, and it's exceedingly expensive.
Yes.
And so where we wanted to start, though, with our project with Aulendur was a little bit of our roots within our experience in the Air Force. So a lot of the mission set that we worked on, we were at it's called the Air Force Technical Applications Center.
Oh, wow.
They focus on nuclear treaty monitoring. So monitoring, treaty or nuclear behavior of different countries around the world, making sure everyone's playing by the rules. But another kind of partner mission set with that is an organization called the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. I'm going to let Gersh talk a little bit about that because he's taking the lead on a current contract we have with them.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. No, thanks, Aaron. Good introduction on that. So, yeah, as you mentioned, this is what we really want to do. We've talked a little bit about this DeepLoom model, which is that idea of the broader system that's connecting everything. But where we started was, we both had full-time jobs, right? We didn't want to just quit, and we had some ideas for a startup. And so we found, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later at 1 Million Cups, is how do you start a business? How do you kind of launch it initially without having to max out credit cards and kind of go in debt and do that whole
Where's
thing?
The capital?
Which you want to take a leap of faith, but also be reasonable and support family. We both have families, right? And so we looked at the SBIR program. And so SBIR, the Small Business Innovation and Research. And so, Aaron had been on a few panels and had seen how this process works. And, it's a big, scary program. You put in a big application. There's a lot of paperwork. But seeing it from the inside, it's very human. It's just people reviewing it, saying, okay, is this a legit idea? Can they do it scientifically? But also, is there commercializability for it? And so, that gave us the confidence to go after it. And then we sort of had to wait and look. And ultimately what we found was an SBIR opportunity from DITRA, which is very similar to AFTAC, where we're from. doing nuclear plume forecasting. So essentially, when there's a nuclear detonation, DITRA wants to know where's that fallout going to go. And right now, the tools that they have to forecast that just don't do the job. The weather models that we have, they don't model that specific material. And so they asked us to come in, bring in some machine learning tools. We put in that proposal, and ultimately we won. And so that's kind of where we've kicked off. And then all of this has been built out of how can we expand that idea of bringing in more phenomenology, more domains into these machine learning models. And we think now's the right time, both from a technology perspective and from the need to be able to get this done.
That's incredible. Like, it's really something that's groundbreaking. And you spoke a little bit about trying to make this more commercial. So is there like plans for that, or how does that look in the future? Because all of this is very high level. And so how do you bring it down to somebody that might need to use it that's more low-key?
Yeah, that's a great question. And something, it's been a lot to juggle, because the grand
100%.
idea is awesome. Like, we could just kind of forecast across everything. Why wouldn't we do that?
Right.
But where do we start?
Right.
And so the Defense Threat Reduction Agency contract is a really awesome kind of initial pilot that's government funded, where, so what are we talking about? We've got weather, an event happens, the weather is going to interact with what's happening with the nuclear plume, and that cascade is going to affect other systems. And the Defense Threat Reduction Agency's mission is to help inform decision making to respond to that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the key things here that we're really trying to hammer home, is that forecasting and modeling is only as valuable as the decisions that it informs.
Right.
Outside of that, if I can predict the weather and I don't do anything with it, then it's just a cool science project. And so the program's called Mjolnir. And we always try to nerdify everything.
I love it. Yeah.
But the Mjolnir project with the Defense Threat Reduction Agency is an awesome initial pilot with the government to say, okay, we're going to model weather and the decision systems that matter to you, and see if we can create prediction that directly ties to decision making. And so that's the cool part about that contract there that we're working with on the government side. On the commercial side, our initial wedge that we're trying to get into starts with weather, but it's integrating in with energy systems. So energy systems, there's not only a tie of, it's particularly sustainable energy, so weather affecting solar, wind farms, that kind of thing. But those people that are producing that energy have to make market bids, looking ahead, predictions into the energy market. And if they're wrong, if they're over or under, it costs.
Yes.
A single afternoon can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you get your bid wrong.
100%.
And so, we've got a system where multiple domains are interacting to inform decision making. And so we're looking on the commercial side to start there. Weather and energy interaction, and not just what you produce, but how does it interact with a grid that can get congested, constrained, and where things you don't control, right? The system operators can come in and tell you, hey, shut down, right? Things like that. How do you try to account for that ahead of time?
Yeah.
So it's kind of two plays, one on the commercial industrial side and then one on the government side. And then our goal is, as we kind of master all these domains, is to start bringing them in and then add more domains after.
Sounds great. Now, as a weather nerd myself, I know there's unpredictability in weather as well. So is there a huge margin of error with some of these, since it's AI and generated by that?
It's totally a Jorden question.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. The short answer is yes, of course, right? We don't have perfect modeling. We don't know the full vectors of every single molecule in the atmosphere. But the answer, in short, is that the machine learning weather modeling has come a really long way. And machine learning weather models are now beating, this is what I did my thesis in, my master's here at UNO, is explainability for weather models. And we're at the point where the machine learning models are just objectively better. Not only are they more accurate, they're also faster. They run in minutes, as opposed to right now the system, you send all of your data to a supercomputer that costs millions or billions of dollars, and it takes several hours to build out a forecast. And now you can run that on minutes on a laptop with a GPU. So part of the answer is a lot of the value in getting better weather forecasts is something called Monte Carlo simulation. It's basically where you run mini simulations with sort of randomized inputs, and then you build out a distribution, and you can see what is the most likely scenario. The answer is never, it is exactly this. It is a distribution of here's what's likely, here are the tails of the distribution, so that you can make a statistically informed decision. And that's the same is true really in all these domains. And again, what we're trying to bring to bear is less that we're going to beat the Googles or the Pangus or these other really big weather models that people are spending millions of dollars investing in and doing research on. It's that they're not talking to each other. Everybody, what we're seeing is a lot of domain experts and scientists in their field, whether it's weather, energy, logistics, fintech, and they're saying, let's take these ML tools and bring them to bear. Of course they're doing that.
Yeah.
What they're not doing is talking to each other and creating a world model
gotta build that
sees the
bridge.
causal connections between the real ways in which our world is connected and systems, affect one another.
This is so great. I'm very impressed with all that you guys are doing. So how can they find you if they're looking to get a hold of what you guys are doing or see if they can help or invest? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so our website is the main initial great point to start. So Aulendur, I'm sure you guys will put it with the post, but AULENDUR.com. And we've got a lot of materials there already to go for investors, slick sheets and contact information. So our website's a great spot. And then reaching out to Jorden or I on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. You guys are going to be talking for 1,000,000 Cups here in a second. So hopefully people come down and see it. Otherwise, you guys will be out there on the internet from our podcast. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for coming on the Build Different podcast.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah.